S rostoucím počtem nabíjecích stanic, ať už jste firma nebo poskytovatel nabíjení a dostáváte se od jednotek k desítkám, stovkám a možná tisícům nabíjecích stanic s různým hardwarem, různou rychlostí nabíjení, různým typem nabíjení, je to pomalé AC nebo rychlé DC, takzvaným load balancingem, kdy potřebujete, aby spolu komunikovali, aby vám nevypadl hlavní jistič v objektu, nebo aby to nezatěžovalo příliš síť jako takovou, jako národní síť, tak roste téma softwarově na dálku potřebujete ty věci řešit. A dnes jsme v Amsterdamu a jsme s jednou významnou vlastně evropskou firmou, kde si budeme bavit o tomto tématu. The Netherlands is 4 years ahead in EV adoption than the Czech Republic would be, and the more chargers you have as a charging infrastructure provider or as a company where you need to have first 10, 20 and 50 chargers, you need to think about software solution, right? Because with the pure scale, you get into like challenges. How do you manage the charging? How do you do that?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that whenever you have one charger, it's okay. If you go to 20 chargers of the same hardware, for example, it's still okay. But if you grow your business across many years, and this is something which you want, probably, you need to think about multiple hardware providers. But then you also need a software which is able to manage all those chargers. And all those chargers should behave in the same way. Because if you set a certain setting to your charger, if you want a certain rate on your charger, if you want to do dynamic power management on chargers, every charger should behave in the same way. And this you can only do from this is what we as Greenflux believe, I think, is that you can only do that from a cloud-based and hardware-agnostic platform.
So at what point would the typical partnership with a customer start? At what size?
Yeah, I think it's really a good question. It really depends. I think here in the Netherlands, it's a lot different, I think, than from probably within Czech Republic. Here in the Netherlands, we sometimes migrate thousands of chargers to our software platform in one go, which are usually quite difficult migrations. But we do that, and we do that quite well. But we also have customers who just start in a certain country. So they start with one charger. So they start basically with one hardware manufacturer on our platform. And we guide them along that way. So, in Czech Republic it will probably be the same, but we just launched with a certain customer in Spain, and they have 5 chargers installed. They're learning along the way. And we are, I think, which is great, we have customer success managers who manage that implementation with these customers. So they go to sites, or at least the customer goes to the site where it's being installed, and they can log into our EV portal to see, okay, so how is this implementation and the integration of a charger and the installation actually going? So you can start with one that works well, but it's from that moment onwards, it's about how to scale up, and also I think because I think working with one charger or 2 or 3, it's easy. You just pin it on the map, you do a certain setting, it's fine. But what if you already have, at a certain point, 100 chargers? Are you going to every charger on the map and say, I want to change a certain setting? Probably you don't want to do that. Probably you want to say, I do that in a batch. I say, I want to update all the firmware of all those chargers, which are also different hardware manufacturers. I want to do that in one go. That you can only do, I think, with a good software solution. And I think there's one other thing is that also whenever you grow, you also as a company, and in this sense it would be a charge point operator, you have different employees who want to do settings. So also the software you work with should have different admin rights, right? So somebody who is on the ground installing the charger should be able to do certain settings in the software, but also maybe a management or somebody in the board level has to know, okay, but how is my network doing? Do I have a graph on how many chargers are online? Which one are in fault mode? Which one are solved? Which problem is solved automatically? Yeah, that you need to do. In a good way, in a software solution. Yeah.
In practical terms, what is it that you, through that a cloud-based software management system, what is it that you manage? What parameters, right? The static ones, just like updating software, which lasts for a year, maybe two.
Yes.
And then dynamic ones, right?
Yes.
Load balancing, the spot prices, whatever.
Yes.
Maybe future-proof solutions, like pricing solutions, or future-proof like for the future plug and play and things like this.
Exactly. Yeah, I think there's about 4 or 5 things you in general manage. I think one is like your charge point management, like the asset management of a charger. Is it online? So can I connect to it? Is there a problem with the charger? How does it behave?
It's like service level towards the end customer, right?
Exactly.
So it's working.
Exactly. Is it working? And then I think the second layer is that, I mean, that's internal. So you are looking at your chargers in your own portal. But how does a customer know that a charger is available? I think it's a very important thing as well. So usually with installing chargers, you should also have a charge point or an app, a driver app, so that a driver can look onto a map and see, okay, I'm driving there and I want to know whether the charger in that region is available. But secondly,
it's working and it's available.
It's working, it's available. So I drive there and I'm sure that I can charge. It's working and it's available, it's important, but also what speed of sort of the charge rate am I getting? Is it fast charging? Is it slow charging? These are all important because, the faster you charge, you know on your way to somewhere else, you know whether you're going to charge there or in a different place because that charger is faster. And not only that, you also want to know the price. Am I going there because it's cheaper or not? All that I think you want to be able to manage. So there's a combination there of a driver app and a driver service which combines, for example, billing or like pricing basically, but also the power rate of a charger, the availability. So you manage that in one solution, but you also display it in an app towards drivers. I think that's, in a way, that's the basics, at least in the Netherlands, and I think it will be adopted quicker, I think, for example, in Czech, because, you can learn also from examples in different markets. And then you can get to more advanced stuff, which is, so I've installed at a certain building 3 chargers, but now I want to install 8 more. But my grid capacity, the capacity I have, or my fuse basically for the building, is not big enough to do that charging, those 4 chargers all at the same time. How are you going to manage that? So that's important, but also, so those chargers will not be, the cars won't be charged all the time. The cars won't be charged all the time, but also the building has some consumption as well. And secondly, there's solar panels on the roof. How do I make sure that that solar energy, which you've installed, that the sun energy is going into those chargers at the right time? So that is also a big game.
In other words, like load balancing, basically.
Yes.
You balance the load for on the microgrid in that building.
And I think that's still, if I look at it, if I look from our portfolio, we do that very well, but it's the basic almost. We do much more advanced stuff.
You have to do these things these days, right?
Yes, definitely. In the Netherlands, we have, at the moment, even in some spots, we have grid congestion. So we can't deliver electricity to the right spots in the right time, basically. So that's important. And EVs, electric vehicles, can help balance the grid in a way. So, for example, when there's a lot of wind energy, we can send that via a charging signal directly to EVs. But if there's not a lot of wind energy, well, maybe we should slow down the rate of the charging to the EV, because then we're charging on gas or coal, which we want to avoid. So, yeah, there's a large part to be done there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's also taking into account the spot prices, right?
Yes.
But also the demands on the grid, right?
Yes,
These are two
exactly.
different things.
Yes.
Even though they correlate,
yes.
they're still different things.
They're sort of, one is local in a way, so a local building, for example, and we call that capacity management. So you make sure that the fuse in a building on each level, which is also important, because a building, if you see a parking lot, for example, the building has there's one big cable coming into the building, but also then there's a fuse box here. There's basically distributors. There's one here, and there's one here on each level. And on each level, you have to make sure that one won't blow, but also all those combined shouldn't overload the general grid connection. So all that you need to manage. So you need some measuring of the chargers, and this you can all sort of these groups. You can set in the software, and then indeed, as you said, we call it power management. Is where you do this in a combination with, for example, energy providers and spot prices. So you decide, or basically energy players know that the day before, so it's the day ahead market, they have to buy the energy beforehand. But they need to also then calculate the charging scheme for the next day. So we get a signal for the next day how to adjust the rate towards the car. That's, I think, even more difficult, but also more interesting in a way. That algorithm needs to respond in almost a millisecond, you could say. So there's indeed two parts to that.
And what will be the other future trends ahead of you in the even more sophisticated charging solutions?
I think that at the moment we are doing, I think most parties, and there's not a lot who do this. In general, I think smart charging, as we call it, is done. It's becoming more popular. But then there's more advanced versions of that. So we have AC chargers, most of the ones you find here across Amsterdam and in most big cities. These are AC chargers, so they're lower rate, so they go up to 22 kilowatts an hour. But we will get more fast charging as well. And these have a completely different charging curve. They go up fast, but they stay there for a short time and they go down. So the charging rate is completely different. Combining both on a local level, so for example here in a parking lot, AC and DC, so combining those rates and making sure that you optimize it and still don't have big investments in your grid connection, because these are huge. A distributor is very expensive.
And also the running costs are expensive.
The running costs become much more expensive.
Allocated power you have, right? The more you pay.
Exactly. So also your monthly cost. You can save a lot. So to combine then on that same grid connection, AC and DC, that's one thing locally, but also on a more wider scale. So I think those will be very important on energy management. And yeah, other key trend I think is that in e-mobility in general, I think you will see two movements. E-mobility is very interesting. There's a lot of parties starting in e-mobility as charging operators or parties who want to take part in this, and I think that's really nice. So you will see sort of niche players coming up who will suddenly create something really nice and really good for customers. And on the other hand, you see also consolidation, because also the numbers should work. I mean, so scale is also very important, I think. So to be able to manage a big charging network of thousands of chargers, I mean, it makes sense, because then the costs are lower as well. So I think we'll see both basically happening. So consolidation, maybe charging networks are taking over by other players and combined into bigger networks. So that's.
And how about the EVs actually actively contributing to balancing the network in the times of peak in terms of vehicle to grid, that they will be providing energy back to the grid?
Yes. I think that's it's an additional topic towards in the energy management. You could call it suite. This is already. I think there's a lot of experiments going on there. I mean, we see many hardware coming out of many models of hardware coming out now. We also see adaptation of the ISO 15118 standard for vehicles as well. So we see more vehicles who adopt that standard. So I think it's, generally speaking, it's a good trend. However, adaptation is still, I would say, still at this moment quite slow, and it has to do with a couple of things. I think also with the way that the calculation is done of the energy which is flowing back towards your own house. So, for example, as a employee, if you charge at your office, you charge full your battery, and you're going back to your house, and you discharge that same energy into your house. How do you do that? How do you take care of, basically on the financial side, how do you do that? These, I think, have to be decided upon, and I think that's still not completely done. But if that puzzle will be solved, I think it will go very rapidly, because also it's great that you can have a big battery next to your house, which you can just charge and discharge whenever you want. So you can store renewable energy into your vehicle and use it whenever you want to do your dishwasher or go to a sauna, whatever.
We have to find a solution, because we, for example, will want that if the company has a lot of solar installed, that the cars are being charged with that renewable energy, right?
Yes.
And used in the evening, right?
Exactly. So that's it's one of the bigger topics you will see in the coming years, I think. And additionally to the ISO 15118 standard, a part of that is plug and charge. It's already adopted now. We're also able to do this. So, for example, that whenever you are a CPO, charge point operator, and there's a certain car manufacturer who has also the possibility of doing plug and charge, you're able to have a chain of hardware, car manufacturer, and software, which are all aligned, and then a driver can then benefit from just plugging in your cable and charge. It's solving a lot of hassle, I think, for the driver as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what about the topic of roaming, right? That interoperability in between the different providers of charging, or even between the charging providers and like semi-public charging within companies.
And this will be interesting, because in Czech there will suddenly be new parties installing chargers, and they somehow will be connected to a bigger roaming network. So drivers from wherever in Europe will want to drive to Czech Republic and then be able to actually pay.
And I think use plug and charge, right?
Or plug and charge,
not,
yes.
Do anything.
Yes, and still also in plug and charge, actually it's vital at the moment still that you have which is called an EMSP, so an e-mobility service provider, which consolidates all those roaming transactions. So if you do a charging session in Germany and you go to a charger in Czech Republic and you plug in, how do you pay? And that consolidation of multiple charge sessions, one in Germany, one in Italy, and one in for example, Czech, that one receipt, one invoice, you need roaming for at the moment. And I think this will still be the case. So what we, as Greenflux at least, do is that we have our platform creates this sort of highway between charge point operators and e-mobility service providers, so that they can roam, so that a driver can charge on any hardware or any charge point operator, CPO, throughout Europe. At the moment, we have, I think, might almost say that we have the largest or one of the largest roaming networks in Europe, with over 600,000 chargers, even including Tesla supercharger network. So that if you are charging as a driver and you charge on all those different charge points, you get one bill, which is great, and is even greater, I think, for fleets. So if you have a big business fleet and you have not one car, but you have thousands of cars, you want to know how much that car and the driver has charged across all those networks. And that, I think, roaming is still very important for. And additionally, it's not only, I think, about the size of the network, but it's now also much more about, as we discussed before, okay, but what am I paying? Is the charger available? Is it transparent? Is the pricing transparent? I think that will be even more important for the driver to know.
How long is this part of your core business? Yeah. And how big are you? How many charging points are you managing?
Well, we are, I think, we are a front runner or like an early player. We've been into e-mobility from almost the start. So the company is now 13 years old, and we're with 90 people. We started as a charge point operator ourselves. So actually, we have the experience of how it is to be a charge point operator in the outside world. So we installed chargers.
And you needed to start solving your own pain, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I think we found out that, along the way, that whatever we should do is not operate a network. We thought, that's maybe better for, I think, bigger organizations in the sense of, utilities or energy companies or oil and gas. I mean, they have so much experience with, physical infrastructure. And we decided, let's do what we until so far, done very well, which is software and making software for these companies. So, how big is it? So we're 90 people around that, but our software is used by customers in 25 countries. So we're mainly doing business in Europe. We have large customers who like large oil and gas companies, utilities, also smaller ones, also starting ones. We also have some customers in, for example, Australia, because in that sense, our cloud software can run anywhere in a way. You can use it somewhere else as well. So how large are we? We have, I think, we're going to the 100,000 chargers, which is quite a milestone for us. Which is quite nice, but we handle there's a charging transaction. So a charge session is started every 2 seconds. So it's 1, 2, and somebody plugs in his car or swipes his card across the charger. So we do a lot of charges throughout the day, throughout the year. It's quite nice.
Děkuji pěkně za dosledování dalšího videa. Jsem Jan Staněk a od roku 2019 se snažím inspirovat 1 milion lidí k přechodu na elektromobil a čistou energii. A budu moc rád za vaše otázky, názory a komentáře k tématu softwarového řízení komplexních systémů pro nabíjení elektromobilů. A tímto také děkuji velvyslanectví z Nizozemského království v České republice za to, že bylo partnerem tohoto videa. Pokud vás zajímá téma elektromobilů a obnovitelných zdrojů energie, tak budu moc rád, když se přidáte mezi odběratele tohoto kanálu. Mějte krásný energický den.